Hey folks, well here's the basically finished conventional tool holder. I say conventional, although I did use the ER spindle in it, and it's painted and finished. I'm really happy with how everything came out. One more thing that I realized, because I made not only this tool holder but also the 5C tool holder, I had made some extra ball handles, and I'm really glad I did. The one thing I left this one unfinished because I thought I'd made enough, but I actually haven't. So what I'm going to do is throw in a little bit of bonus footage here at the end, machining this remaining ball handle down so that it can be the clamp that sits on the base of this one. Otherwise, I have enough of the large ball handle. So if you're going to make a Quorn and you're going to make the extra tool holder, I think I'd made one extra large ball handle just in case of mistakes, but obviously you need two. So anyway, I'm going to start machining this one here. These are roughly 3/4 of an inch here on this side and 1/2 an inch on this side. So all I need to do is to put it in my jig in the lathe and machine it flat, and then drill and tap the center of it for the 5/16 24 thread. But I'll show you that in just a second. Thanks everybody. And here we are, we've got the lathe set up to do the ball handle. These are the cups. If you're interested, I did a whole about a 7-minute video on Quorn ball handles. You could Google that about a year ago. But these are the cups that hold it in the 3-jaw chuck, and place it in there. Tighten the chuck up just slightly. And I put this block back here because that will ensure that I have the 20-degree angle on the base for the ball. So once it's all in place, tighten it up in the chuck, make sure that's not going to go anywhere. Use my little zip tie jig here to keep that block in place. There we go. All right. Okay, here we are taking some cuts just to flatten out the bottom. I'm only going about 20 thou at a time. The bottom of the ball handle. That was the first cut for 20 thou. Got the lathe on about 220 RPM. This is 12L14 steel. If you are going to make ball handles for the Quorn, because of the effort that's involved in them, I would highly recommend going ahead and use stainless steel. I'd not really worked a lot of stainless steel before, but the 303 stainless seems very user-friendly. If I was going to do it over again, making all the Quorn ball handles, I would use 303. So now we've taken off about 60 thou, 80 thou. So I'm only going to take off about 100 thou on the bottom here. Because one consideration is how deep do you drill. You want to be careful that you don't drill through the top of the ball. Okay, so this is right at 100 thou. Should be plenty. Hopefully you can see that. Alright. Cut this off. Alright, yep, it's nice and flat now, so I'll switch the tooling around, get ready to center drill and drill it and tap it and bring you back for those steps. Okay, I got the center drill in place, put a little cutting oil on there. show you this center drill. I like these long ones like this. Just a little bit. They're really handy, more drill length. I don't know what you call them, but extra long center drills. Okay. Now, it's a 5/16 fine thread, so I'm going to ease up. I'm going to take a couple of different drills, use a smaller one to do a pilot hole. I forget, I've already laid my drills out. I forget which one. It's either O or I is the proper size for the fine thread 5/16. So, and I like to drill at 70 RPM. There we go. Alright, so we're at 70 RPM. Go in 500 thou. Let me pull it out and clear this off. Hitting the camera there. About 500 thou now, switch out the drill. This back. Set this over here. Let's see if I can see what size this is. I set all this stuff out last night in anticipation of doing this. What size is it? It's either an O or an I. It's a letter drill. I. Letter drill I. I. Alrighty. And again, only going in 1/2 inch. Out, double check the measurement again. Like I said, the last thing you want to do is go drilling through the center of your ball. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 5 right there. Double check. Good. Alrighty, I'm going to cut the camera off and I'll switch around to show you what I'm going to do. I've got got a tailstock tapping holder. I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, my tailstock tap holder is in my lathe. I'm going to start out with a conventional tap, and I'm not going to go very far. I'm just going to get the first set of threads started. This is a regular automotive type tap basically, and I put it in these little round tap holders and tighten up the screw. Screwdriver here. Then I can put the tap holder inside my holder, tailstock holder. Come on, there we go. And I use a vice grips here so I don't rip my wrist out of place. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I like this tap paste stuff. If you've followed my videos, you've seen this stuff works great. It's so hot out here, it seems to have separated a little bit. It comes out pink. So I'll put a little bit on the on my little brush. Put some on the tap itself, and like I said, I'm just going to go in there a little ways. I'll show you how this works. Okay, so I have a couple. I've used the inching feature on the lathe to go in a little bit, just get the thing started. Now I'm just basically going to do this by hand because A, I don't want to break my tap off in this ball handle that took forever to build, and B, I don't want to break the tap off, and C, it just doesn't have to go that deep anyway because I'm going to use the bottoming tap in a minute. So let's break the chip, go forward again. I like doing this by hand because you can really feel, you can really feel is the tap cutting or is it hitting up against something. You can feel the resistance. And you can also feel it when the chip breaks, which is a good feeling too, because then you know you've got a thread that's in the process of cutting. Alright. That's probably about as far as I want to go with the conventional tap, which is perfectly fine. Back it out. You can use the power reverse on the lathe to back it out. Clean the threads off. There we go. You can slide the whole tailstock back. And then take this part out. If you can get it. Hey, it came right out. So there's the little tap, the conventional tap. I'll set that aside. And I also have a bottoming tap for the 5/16 24. I laid that out last night. So I'm going to set that in the tailstock tap holder. Put some tap paste all over the tap. Use a little pipe cleaner to clear out any chips that are in there. It could interfere with the process. I'm going to do the same thing now. We'll just try to get to the bottom. So, starting off, and just go by hand here, because we're only going a ½ an inch, so it'd be 14 complete revolutions of, since it's actually it's 24 pitch, so 12 complete revolutions. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I could put this in between gear, make it easier to do this. Spin that. I'm going in like 7 revolutions, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of resistance. And go back and forth like that. 8. I'll just have to remember to put the lathe back in proper gear before I engage it again, so I don't mess up the gears. But this is all there is to it. It's kind of fun, actually. Like I said, it's nice feeding it by hand like that, because especially you got you're bottoming into a blind hole. And you dang sure don't want to break your tap. Okay, that feels like the bottom there. Yeah, okay, now let's go count the revolutions. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Perfect. Looks like we're definitely in a 1/2 inch. Okay, now we take it out. I'll cut the video off now because I've been boring you with this stuff probably, but I'm clearing the chips off the tap. I'm going to go in while I have everything set up perfectly before I take it all out. I'm going to do this one more time just to make sure I have the threads cut as deep and clean as possible. Okay, wrapping up on the lathe. So I've double checked my cut, and if you've never seen the difference between a bottoming tap and a regular, this is a good comparison. So you can see the bottoming tap is able to cut several more threads, usable threads, a lot deeper than an ordinary starter tap, pilot tap. I forget, there's a fancy name for them, but anyway, the common tap versus a bottoming. But it's always good to start with a regular one, taper tap, that's what the word is. Start with a taper to get everything going and create the pattern, and then you can just finish up the last few threads with the bottoming. And before I finish, I'm not going to video this, but I'm going to use this little, I'll put the drill chuck in the tailstock again, and I'll use this little bevel thing to create a nice little bevel there at the end, and I'll file off the bottom here before I take it out of the lathe. And yes, I do have it back in gear, back in the 70 RPM, and I'll go ahead and just cut the bevel real quick using that countersink tool that I showed. I'm not going to go crazy deep, just a little bit, kind of clean up the end. Burrs off. Put the lathe off. There we go. Nice little countersink. And I'll take a file and dress it up and take it out. Alright, so here's the ball handle with the drilled and tapped part. And as you can see, I made this one out of leaded steel, which was fun to machine, but it's already started to rust up a little bit. So what I've got, I'm going to put another nice feature of these cups is that you can use them to hold the head of the ball, and I'm going to put this in place. Excuse me. And I've got my rotating tailstock here. I'm going to put it in place. I won't be able to clean up the head very much, but I will be able to get the body of it. I'm going to run it through. When I make these, this is part of how I make them when I'm doing the taper here. So I have a little hole in the bottom. So I'm going to use some 220 grit sandpaper to smooth it out, and then some 400 grit and then some of my metal polish that should help make it not just shiny but also protected for a while. So we'll do it at 220 RPM. out with a 220 grit. Just get a little shine on it. Takes out some of the tool marks too. Put a little WD-40 on there. Try a little polish. This is that Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. Works great on aluminum and pretty good on steel and stuff too. Kind of a creamy pink color. If you're familiar with a product called Brasso, it's sort of like a gelled version of Brasso, it seems like. I'm applying it with a Scotch-Brite. Get in there. Let me get a clean rag, wipe it off with polishing type cloth. This is an old t-shirt. Should serve pretty well. There we go. Nice finish. Now I'll have to flip this around and do the top ball part. Take this out. Take the. Alright, so you can see how nice and shiny that is compared to how it was. It was a pretty rough finish before, more like an ordinary rough steel. So now I can take it out of the cup there and I'll just polish the top part of the ball and it'll be good to go. So here's the completed painted mounted tool holder. This is the ball handle that we just made and polished up just a few seconds ago. It came out really nice. I do have a coat of wax on everything just to kind of protect it, and I'll put a little cloth over this thing as I work on it. The next thing I'll be working on will be the 5C tool holder. So while I'm on a roll with the paint and body work, I want to go ahead and do that. So that'll be the next thing. Please like and subscribe, pass the word to folks. If you've enjoyed this content, ask any questions that you have. I'll do my best to try to answer them. The Quorn is basically at a point where I could start using it, but while I'm on a roll with all the paint and body work, I want to finish that up. So stay tuned. The next installment will be more paint and body work, probably on the 5C tool holder. Thanks everybody. Have a great week.